definitely the largest parents meeting we've had since I've been here and probably in the history of GC. So good evening, everybody. My name is James Parker. I'm Director of Athletics and Student Activities here at T.C. Williams High School. We also have on the phone with us tonight Burke Stoy, Jim Harris, Miss Connie, and Marjorie Frankie. They're all part of the athletic staff here. And some of them will be speaking a little bit later on tonight. Please make sure you just keep everything on mute. If you have questions, during the time that I'm talking, please just go ahead and put it in the chat. We'll have time at the end to answer any questions that we don't cover. And we're gonna also, we have all our coaches on here. Well, I hope we do now that I found out things are a lot, but we'll be able to break everybody out and break up into breakout rooms for each sport. So you'll be able to talk directly and ask sport-specific questions directly to the coaching staffs there. I know this year has been, very challenging, not only on you parents, but also, of course, on our student athletes and the kids that we serve. So we're excited that we're able to get sports back, and we're trying to do that, in the safest way possible. And really tonight is to kind of go over some of those protocols and get the buy-in from you guys, because ultimately for us to be successful at this, and I mean that in a safety standpoint, we all have to be engaged together in doing this the right way. We have worked with the Virginia High School League, CDC, of course, our school system, the local Alexandria Health Department, to kind of put together all these different protocols that you'll see tonight. So a lot of these things are, ultimately not totally up for debate per se, but ultimately, things that are going to kind of keep us safe. As I said before, I know we've reached capacity on the number of people that we can let in, so we're going to record this. I'll send the message out to everybody tomorrow, or even tonight. Jim Harris, if you're on the line, can you send a couple of tweets out, let people know that we'll post this tomorrow so everybody can see it for people who are not able to get in. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So as you know, all of the seasons this year have kind of been condensed. So we're really playing 60% of our games for each sport. And everything will start on Monday as far as the tryouts. That information is posted. Every sport's a little bit different. Some sports don't have any, like cross country, for example, they don't cut. So if by chance you don't have your physical and those type of things ready the first or second, third day, don't worry about that. Coach Hughes will be able to take you, throughout the week as we go further. All of your tryout paperwork we really need to have in by tomorrow. If you have some outstanding issues and stuff and can't get stuff until next week, we'll be able to handle those things. But ultimately we're trying to get everybody in as quickly as possible to get that stuff done. The development of the plan tonight, like I talked about before, we work with Alexandria City Public Schools, the National Federation of High School, VHSL, CDC, our local health department, and we also did some training of our coaches as well. These are just some survey results. We put a survey out about 2 or 3 months ago, right before the Christmas holidays, on just comfort level, asking the parents who have children who participate in our sports programs how they felt about us resuming sports and doing conditioning days and practicing. And right around 90% of the people were happy with moving forward with sports. And ultimately, it's extracurricular. It's totally up to you as a parent whether or not you want your child to participate this year. And we'll definitely support whatever decision you make in that manner. So as it sits as far as the things that we need done for each of the athletes, rank 1 is the system that we use to get everybody registered. So if you haven't done so already, you need to go on our website here, register in rank 1, get your emergency care form filled out, your athletic acknowledgement form, and then you can actually upload your physicals. I know in the past, people have been used to just coming up to the school and dropping them off. We can still do that. It's a little bit more difficult now during this time because the schools is currently not open. Our athletic training staff and myself, and some of our other employees are actually here at the school throughout most of the day. So if you do come up here, if you come to the front of the school, they'll be able to contact us and take the paperwork for you. But if not, it's as easy as you just taking a picture of your actual physical form and uploading it right into Rank One. And then usually within about 24 hours, Ms. Frankie is able to approve that and move forward, or let you know what kind of issues you may have with the paperwork that you submitted. All right, here's kind of the day in the life of an athlete during the COVID era in regards to practice and game days. So the first thing that athletes will have to do is they'll be required to fill out a COVID-19 screening questions. And this will be no more than 2 hours before the practice starts. It's just the 5 basic questions that you've been answering all different places. It'll be a Google link that we send to each of the kids. It will be posted on the website as well. And the coaches will have access to that. So that'll be part of how they actually get to check in the practice. So part of the check-in will be that you do your form, then they'll take their temperature once they get there, and then they'll be able to proceed to get on the field. All athletes must bring their own water bottle. If you do not have a water bottle, we will supply one to you. All athletes must also bring a mask, wear a mask, and the mask is to be worn the entire time, even while playing or competing in their sport. That is a rule that we're doing here in Alexandria, and also it's being done as well in Fairfax. So all the teams that will be playing, at least during the regular season, everybody will be wearing a mask. Now, once we get to region, or if we're lucky enough to go to states, it'll be a little bit different because different parts of Virginia are doing different things when in regards to wearing a mask during competition. When you're not actually competing in the actual sport, we'll be trying to keep all the kids 6 feet apart from each other. So if there's any like team meetings or anything of that nature, when you see the kids on the bench area, we'll have them separated. So anytime they're really not engaged in sporting activity is when they'll be socially distancing. The other thing is, and we'll go over that in a little bit, is the parents and athletes will sign an ACPS health commitment form. Ms. Connie will actually put that in the chat as well, so you guys will have that to read over, and we're going to go over that tonight as well. We'll be emailing that out. That'll be posted, and we'll also have it in the chat this evening. This is ultimately what the coaches will be responsible for. Like we said before, a lot of the stuff I'll talk about tonight is somewhat repetitive, but that's kind of done on purpose, so we kind of can drive all the points. Obviously, they'll be taking the temperature of all the kids. They'll be reviewing the screening questions from all the kids. The coaches themselves will be responsible for doing the same thing. So they'll have to get their temperature taken and also answer the screening questions. Coaches will be required to wear masks the entire time as well. And they'll make best efforts to keep the kids in pods. So I'm going to use football as an example. I practiced the other day, they have all their kids kind of in pods based on the positions that they play. So that's kind of how when they exercise and do those things, and then once they start playing, it's a little bit different. The pods will kind of help us in the event that there's any issues with somebody contracting COVID. We'll be able to do the contact tracing a little bit better. We'll try to do some staggered drop-off and pickup times in different places so that kids are not congregating all together. And we'll definitely need your help with that as well, parents. And as usual, there's no parents or spectators will be allowed at any of the practices. When it comes to games, there's a lot of limitations. So for volleyball, for example, it's 2 spectators per athlete. And that's only for varsity games. There's no spectators allowed at freshman or JV games for volleyball. For field hockey, same thing, 2 spectators per athlete will be permitted at both home and away games. For volleyball, for example, it's only home games that parents can go to for TC. And that's all these things are based on Virginia law. So you only can have 25 people in the gym at any given time. which is the reason why that's the case for volleyball. Field hockey, like I said, is 2 people. And then cross country, cheer, and golf, we'll have to get that information at a later date. They're still trying to actually pinpoint cross country courses, cheer locations, golf courses, and depending on where we go will depend on what the spectator count is. So each week before the competitions, we'll be sending something out, probably via the coach, through the players to the parents and whomever, and the kids will then submit the 2 people that they want to come to the game. Once you get here to TC, you'll have to do a temperature screening, and they'll be verbally asking you the 5 questions to do the screening questions. And then from there, everybody will be sitting in separate places, spread out different places for the social distancing aspect. For people who are not able to get into the games, all the games will be live streamed. So it's mandatory that we live stream all the games, home and away. So all the away games will be live streamed, and we'll provide those links to you, and all our home games will be live streamed, and all that stuff will be done for free. Hydration, we talked about this before. All students will bring their own water bottles, and ultimately we'll still have water coolers that they can fill their water bottles up there. If they're a sport that has a manager, and we actually have some interns that are going to work some of the practices and events, that particular person will be responsible for filling the water bottles up. If not, we will have plenty of hand sanitizer and mask and PPE as well. So even if a kid forgets their mask or their mask breaks or something of that nature, all the coaches will have a box of PPE, from wipes to masks to hand sanitizer that can utilize during practices and games. Equipment. Same thing with equipment. We'll try to do the best of not sharing any equipment. Anytime there is any kind of shared equipment, it has to be wiped down in between use. So either it has to be wiped down in between players, and or if the coach is putting kids in pods, once one pod touches some equipment, it has to be wiped down before the next pod can actually touch that particular equipment. We'll try to, it's going to be very difficult, but keeping kids from not doing, a bunch of high fives, hugging each other on the sideline, those type of things, we're going to try to discourage as much as possible. Weight room. There's a limit of only 15 people allowed in the weight room. And it's the same type of etiquette that we would use in a public weight room. You have to wipe the equipment down first, utilize the equipment, then wipe it after. And coaches will be responsible for, making sure that happens with all the athletes. The school will also be cleaning the weight room on a regular basis as well. That's part of their cleaning routine. The exercise that will be done will be individually based. So if there's a spotter needed, then like the bench press, for example, the people who are spotting will have to stand on the sides of the actual person. They can't stand over them to help spot them. And then once again, masks will be worn at all times in the weight room, and also keeping 6-foot distance. And we're also doing some other stuff. So some teams that are pretty big that wouldn't be able to obviously have their whole team in the weight room. So we'll be able to spread out down the hallways and other places and pull some of the weight equipment out of there in order to maximize that opportunity. Hygiene practices, we'll be encouraging and having the athletes, coaches to wash their hands and utilize sanitizer before and after practice and games. Obviously, sneezing and coughing into a tissue or into the inside of your elbow, and encouraging all the athletes to avoid touching their face. We'll have our cleaning people as well as our coaches and kids cleaning off equipment in all the high touch areas, whether it's doorknobs and those type of things, will all be wiped down. Obviously, we're encouraging all the kids to shower and wash all their clothing upon returning home. We'll kind of go now into kind of our COVID response protocols. And this is what's going to actually be on the health commitment form that we'll put there in the chat room for you and send out. So these are the things that we're kind of asking you to adhere to and follow rules to. And a lot of this stuff, anytime there's any type of COVID situation, we would report it and work with the Alexandria Health Department. So it's just not us making these decisions. This information would then be shared there so that you get all of the proper protocols. But we're asking parents that they will not send their child to resume sports if he or she has any COVID-related symptoms until they either get tested negative. So, for COVID, a healthcare provider has documented the reason for any kind of symptoms they may have. So, for example, if somebody has a really bad cough or sneezing a lot, those type of things, they may have allergies, that would just need to be documented. Or they'd have to sit out for 14 days and do a 14-day quarantine. And this is really for any situation. For example, if an athlete comes in and they have a fever and we have to send them home because of that, this particular protocol would be put in place in order for that particular child to resume play. Next, we're asking parents, please will not send your child to resume sports if he or she is diagnosed or confirmed with COVID-19 until the following are met. So you have to do a 14-day quarantine and then get a physician to medically clear you to return to sports. Sometimes the days will be a little bit longer because depending on when your symptoms started and when they stopped, and once the doctor actually gives you a test and clears you, the Alexandria Health Department will kind of make a determination. Just, from a standard answer is 14 days, but it could be more. So I just wanted to kind of let everybody know that as well. We're asking if someone in your household, if one of the parents or somebody who lives in your home is confirmed with COVID, that particular child would have to complete a 14-day quarantine. And once again, like you said, we would let the Alexandria Health Department know because it could depend on a lot of different variables. You may say, well, we live with our grandparents, but they live in the basement of our house. Our child has been around their grandparents in X amount of time. We always wear a mask in our house. If those are the different things that are occurring, that type of information would go to the Alexandria Health Department, and then they would tell us whether or not the 14-day quarantine was necessary. It's also in the same case if you go to somebody's house, and let's say you're visiting a friend and you were over there for 5 minutes, you had your mask on, everybody was 6 feet apart, but then they called you and said that they were diagnosed with COVID. It doesn't mean that then the athlete would have to then sit out 14 days because they weren't around them longer than 15 minutes. So there's a whole bunch of different scenarios, and it's difficult to go through, all the different ones, but we wanted to kind of give you a overall concept of what we're trying to do and really get, you guys, if you have any questions, just to please let us know. You can contact my office or the athletic training office to help you with that. And also on our website, you'll see a COVID-19 info area, and there's a form in there that you can actually fill out. So if you have an issue, you can fill that particular form out. It comes to us, and then that kind of helps us then go through the whole contract tracing process, which, ultimately, if we're able to gather that information, and that determines what we end up doing with the team. So if I'll use volleyball as an example, if they were having practice and everybody was kind of practicing all together, and the coach said, all the kids were pretty much around each other, then we would be shut down for 2 weeks. So if somebody on the team gets COVID, then we're pretty much automatically shutting the program down for 2 weeks. And it'll definitely happen if we're playing a team. Same difference. If we're playing hayfield and in one particular sport, let's say it's field hockey, and they call us and say one of our kids has COVID that was playing and it was a starter, we had to shut the program down for 2 weeks. That happened pretty much the entire winter in Fairfax for different sports. And sometimes they were able to resume some of the kids depending on how things worked out. A lot of times it's, well, the kids that were sitting on the bench were not around this particular player, So we're able to kind of pull those particular kids away. But each situation will be kind of taken care of on a one-on-one basis. Now there are very specific things for each sport, and we'll put those in the chat as well. Those are also posted on the website in our COVID-19 area. Every sport has guidelines that we're following from the VHSL, and also certain guidelines are different for every single sport. So every sport's different on how they conduct games, practices, what they can and cannot do. So we'll put that in the chat for you to review. We'll also have it on the website, and then we'll send it out to everybody as well, so you have those guidelines. I'll have Miss Frankie give her spiel here as well, as far as being able to get used to her office if you need an athletic trainer. Miss Frankie, are you there?
Hello, I am here. So this year is going to be a little bit different in regards to when we can see the kids, and also how many can be in the room at one time. So we are going to ask that anytime an athlete needs to see us, whether that's for an evaluation or a follow-up or a treatment or rehab session to be shown to them, taping even, all of that's going to require a set up appointment. And we will be doing that just through email, essentially, or, discussing that with the athlete over the phone or in person. So we will have to set up times specifically for individual appointments for these athletes to be seen. Again, that's due to limitations of how many people we can have in the athletic training room at once, and spreading everybody out, and trying our best to keep those appointment times to under 15 minutes. So that way it's not considered a full exposure rate. So that being said, if something were to happen, however, during a practice or a game that obviously does not apply, we will take care of them. It's more so for things that we know in advance need to be taken care of. And that can get coordinated through the assistance of the coaches as well. So please just keep that in mind. Email or phone calls are going to be the best way to reach us to take care of anything medical related.
Thank you, Ms. Frankie. I just wanted to get parents understanding all of the educational classes and things that the coaches have to take before they work with their children. So they do a child abuse training, CPR training, concussion education, and then this year we added the COVID-19 course that the National Federation of High Schools put out. So all of the coaches have taken these courses. You'll soon be getting, once tryouts are over, that period is over, you'll be getting a band app invitation. And basically it's a communication tool. It's an app that we can utilize to connect with parents and the kids, kind of like GroupMe if you guys have that. So most of the coaches will have one that's just players only to go through, plays and times to arrive. And then they'll have another one for the parents as well, to kind of give you information about the program and what's going on and when games are, if things change. It also helps us in the event that there's any emergencies or situations that occur, that we can contact everybody quickly. There could be situations where we have a game and then all of a sudden it's canceled because the team that we're playing has to quarantine, so we can't even go to that particular game. So we want to make sure that we're right on top of that and can connect with you guys as soon as possible. So you can download the band app now if you like, and then later you'll be getting information on how to sign up for your particular sport. If everybody could download our Titan Athletics app. This app will have everything in it. All the schedules are in the app. All of our score updates will be there. We'll send out notifications through this particular app. You can buy Titan gear through the app. Everything that we do will be done through this particular app. And once we get back to regular life and have concession stand and those type of things, you'll be able to order food through the app as well. So this particular app will be able to give you all the information that you need. That's Titan Athletics, even news. So please download that app. We'll be utilizing that a lot to get information out. And you actually can sign up and sign up through Rank One, and all that stuff is in this particular app as well. All right, so before we go to breakout rooms, if anybody has questions, just please put them in the chat. We'll probably have too many people to have people ask the questions. And if you put them in the chat, if they're general questions, I can answer them, of things we kind of went over. If they're more sports specific, I would just hold those questions until we go into the breakout rooms. So I will look here in the chat and see. I don't know if I don't see any. One question we had, is this for 8th graders as well? Yes, 8th graders are part of the high school program. So everything that we're talking about would relate to 8th graders as well. Transportation, great question. I didn't really touch on transportation because they're still trying to work that out right now. I think there's a maximum of 8 people that we could put on a bus. So one or two things will happen. One will be either we'll have, 8 buses going places to take the teams, or they'll say, we can only give you 4 buses, and then we'll have to ask parents, the ones that are able to drive their kids to the games. But that has not been decided yet. We're hoping that we'll be able to work the situation out with the buses shortly here. So over the next week or so, our transportation department is working on looking at all of our schedules and figuring out how many kids we have to transport different places and go from there. And that's the same thing for activity bus. Initially, there won't be any activity buses probably until we resume school, which will be in the middle of March. But that hasn't even been decided as well yet. They're working right now on all the routes for school, all the school routes first, and then they'll kind of curtail back with all the athletic stuff. So we'll have that information on transportation hopefully shortly. Question, are kids able to try out for more than one sport? Yes and no. If it's a sport where they are having cuts, usually that's the first 3 days. So if you want to, for example, possibly run cross country, you can do volleyball first, see if you make the team. And then if you don't, you can go over to cross country, because Coach Hughes the track team will take you further on. But if that is something that you really wanted to do and there's 2 different sports, you'll have to figure that. You'll have to contact the coaches and figure out how we can work that out. If a kid can drive, 1 second. Can we try more before we answer that one? Hold on a second. Yeah. If the kid can drive, are they required to have a pass to park? Initially, no. From now until March 15th, they don't need a pass to park here up at the school. Once school starts, the kids will be given a pass to park. And I think they're about to send that out for seniors, I believe, in Chicken Pen Circle. And then only staff can park in the actual parking deck. But from now until March 15th, if your child drives up here, they won't need a pass to park. It's a great question. How will the possible overlap between fall season and spring season be handled? That's a great question. It's going to be tough. It's going to work pretty much the same way we've worked in other situations. A lot of times, if teams are advancing far into the playoffs, regions, states, it's the same situation. Those particular kids will get opportunities to try out for those spring sports, and after their season is over. So even if spring tryouts are over and your particular child is still participating, they'll still get the opportunity to try out for that particular team. But great question. We're going to have a lot of that probably this coming year. What days will practice take place in time? Once you get in the breakout rooms, you can talk directly to the coaches. Most of the practices are from 4 to 6. That's just, standard Monday through Friday. Some teams do practice on Saturdays, depending. but in general, it's usually 4 to 6 p.m. What if you can't wear shorts for religious reasons? That is fine. If you have any other questions about that, we can make sure that you're taken care of. All right. I don't see any other questions, which is good.